Y ahora los invito a escuchar una conversación con el mayor experto en el estudio de los procesos cerebrales de la atención. Mike Posner es profesor emérito de la Universidad de Oregon y es un enorme placer tenerlo en Los Enigmas del Cerebro. Mike, cada día recibimos más estímulos. ¿Cómo impacta esto en nuestra atención?
There's a lot of current interest in the changes in the brain that are brought about by multitasking, by, having a cell phone and computer and all these various networks. One thing we do know is they're likely to have an impact and to change the brain. On the other hand, often people who believe that you can change the brain by these various networks don't believe you could unchange it or move it backward. But very likely, if you decide that you wish to concentrate on, for example, writing a book or paper, you can cut yourself off from these other distracting sources and readjust your brain to concentrating very heavily upon things that you're reading. So the brain is plastic, can be reprogrammed for different sources of attention. We don't know if that's always possible, if there are limits to that and so on, but these are really active questions of investigation.
¿Existe alguna relación en el proceso de atención y en la capacidad que tenemos para hacer muchas cosas a la vez en lo que denominamos multitasking?
Oh, certainly, yes. Multitasking is faced with the limits of attention. It's not really clear that most of the time we do multitask in the sense of doing two things at once. I mean, all these automobile accidents that happen when you try to text or talk on a cell phone and something like that, they happen because there's severe limits to our attention. We think we are attending to everything at once, but in fact we're not. And so we do degrade some of our performance by switching off to handle something else.
¿Cómo se puede alterar la atención en forma patológica?
Well, it can be altered normally and pathologically. We know there are differences that occur, such as attention deficit disorder, in which children have especially difficult times in orienting and maintaining their attention in the environment. It probably involves initially the alerting network. Later on, it probably involves the executive and orienting networks as well. And so that's a more difficult problem in maintaining maintaining attention. It's often also, just as in other people, influenced by interest. So the same child who has very difficulty attending in classroom might not have much problem on the playing field or some other place where their motivation is properly, which is heavily involved.
¿Existen formas o maneras de entrenar la atención?
We've been, and others have been investigating different methods. The original work came by a Swedish investigator, Turko Klingberg, who investigated children of about 8 to 10 who had attention deficit disorder, and he attempted to train them by working memory training. This is a form of training where you have to remember something that occurred 1, 2, 4 or more items ago, and it can be very difficult, and what he did is adjust its difficulty, so as you practiced it, it got more and more difficult, so you're always kind of working at your limit. And he found that several weeks of training with this working memory training actually improved the subject's attention, both in that task, but also in other related situations, like in the classroom situation. And in recent years, my colleague Yuan Hong and I have been studying a way of changing the brain state through meditation, which also improves, for example, the executive memory network, the executive attention network. And we've shown improvements in undergraduates in that network and have tried to trace some of the neural changes that developing the skill of adapting this brain state allows you to achieve.